Hi there. I just want to share with everybody some of my thoughts about what I learned from my seminary class on the Gospels. Is it from evangelical, charismatic background myself? When I say the Gospels, we really talk about Christology, Christ, soteriology, salvation, and who Christ is and the Trinitarian. And I really do appreciate that we really, in the seminary, I learned so much about Trinity that I never was able to know before. All I know is that is the God, it's Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, three in one. And how do I explain that? I have no idea. And somebody's told me that it is like Father, like the sun. You feel the heat, you see the light, and there's a sun. There are three components to it. Or people even say it's like water, steam, and ice, three forms. It's all completely wrong. So I'm so thankful that I'm actually learning the Reformed teaching on the Trinitarian concept, who God is, which is absolutely fascinating. And I can't wait to study, to learn more about this, which I'm going to write on these things. But I just want to capture in the Gospels. My idea of the Gospel is like we would talk about Christ, the miracles of Jesus, like turning of the water into wine, and Jesus walking on water. And Jesus talk about Father and I one phrase. Okay, let's take one. John chapter 10, for example, Jesus talked about, I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life. I am the good shepherd. I lay down my life. There's no one who can say that I lay down my life. No shepherd in this world can do that. No pastor can do that. And for the fact, the only person who can really say this compellingly, convincingly is Jesus himself, who happens to be God himself. He's the Son of God. And it is amazing how he says it. And without going through details, but we know that Jesus is really in the Old Testament from Genesis chapter 1 all the way to Revelations. And that is something I didn't know before. To be able to see Christ. I mean, Jesus is the better Moses. Jesus is the better David. Jesus is the better Joshua and all this. Just better Abraham. Jesus is the ultimate fulfillment of everything in the Old Testament. But I'm just triggered by what I want to say, by the fact that the gospel lessons I study in the seminary actually makes me feel that the couple of things I learned, okay, I just want to share with us, and it's thought-provoking. Number one is that there's so much onslaught of the orthodoxy of the gospel or the Bible by the liberal scholars in the Enlightenment period, when they crown human reasoning above the supernatural. To me, really, the Enlightenment and the liberal scholars is really hating the entire supernatural of God. In other words, when they cannot explain the supernatural, they write them off. They rationalize it. They're saying that, for instance, Jesus didn't walk on water. Perhaps Jesus walked on some shallow water. There's some most stupid way of explanation. The Red Sea was never split, and because of the illusion, and go on and so forth. But they do admire so much Jesus being a very compassionate person. You see where the liberal thinkers in this world, we got all this. Jesus was looking out for the marginalized. Jesus said, feed the poor. Jesus said, look after the homeless. Look after the widows. Look after the orphans. And he commands us to do that. And to say that Christians only want to evangelize and preach the gospel, it is just not correct, because we do all those social justice. Actually, just to make it more explicit and clear, the social justice part of it is part of the gospel. When we say preach the gospel, social justice is part of the gospel. So what liberals want of the social justice is really part of the very gospel that God preached. We preach, and Jesus teach and preaches. But so there's a whole chunk of intellectual attack on the authenticity of who Jesus is, the historical Jesus versus the biblical Jesus. The historical Jesus, they say it is impossible to meet, and the Bible is it the other way around. But biblical Jesus is just not possible. Historical Jesus is actually somebody just like you and I, who probably never claimed to be God himself. He just a very, very outstanding human beings. Never sinned, just being extraordinarily kind. I mean, liberals love the teachings. For instance, I don't mean just liberals in this world. I mean liberal scholars. I mean Schleiermacher, for example, Albert Schweitzer, and all these big names. I can't even remember those German names for now. Those are the ones how rewrite our history study. You see, our universities today are pretty much impacted and shaped by this Enlightenment thinkers, and that's what will produce a whole lot of students, college students, top brains in our country, with people who are just so liberal-minded and also anti-supernatural. Seriously, if anybody takes away the supernatural of God, there's no more Christianity. There's no more Bible. Try that. If you remove every verse, which the liberal tried that before, they remove every verse in the gospel that concerns, that is connected with the miracles that Jesus performed, like heal the blind, open the eyes of the blind, raise the crippled, and cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, walk on the water, and 2 fish and 5 loaves fed the 5,000 people. If you remove all those, and there's many other more, all those miracles of Jesus, you're probably left with 5 pages out of the, I don't know, 300-400 pages in the gospel. I'm just throwing numbers. Now you get the idea. So that's the thing. There's some scholars, some liberal scholars even rationalize. They have a, what they call Jesus movement or something. They have a committee trying to color code which verse is supernatural, unlikely, more likely, probably, and just reject everything supernatural. Look at our university. That's what we produce today. No wonder our students, college students, are so disillusioned about the supernatural. Yet, God is not done. God actually is moving, because it actually is also, it's an antithesis that is also stirring the hunger of many, many college students and many, many people today for who God really is, the spirituality. Where is God? If you go to the third world country, go to Asia, go to Africa, go to Latin America, a lot of these places are ripe with the greatest evangelists, the greatest number of people flocking to Jesus because of the miracles, because of signs and wonders. Take away all those prosperity doctrines, they are doing great work. What they need is good reformed theology, teaching them, anchoring them into solid focus of who God is, not just what God can bless them with. So that is the whole part of the gospel theology about the onslaught of the orthodoxy by the liberal thinkers, and I think it's great. And the other one is I think one of the highlights is when Peter's confession, when Jesus asked the whole lot of people, "Who do you think I am?" And Peter said, "You are the Son of God." And Jesus said, "Peter, you have confessed correctly, and you did not confess it by yourself, but my Father has put in your heart to say that, and you are Peter, the Patros, the rock, the little rock, and I'll build my church." This is very, very interesting. That is the kind of thing I would want to really capture in the gospel course classes, because right after that, Jesus' tone changed completely. Is after Peter confessed on behalf of the apostles, confessed correctly who really Jesus is. In fact, that is really a big lesson to us. Without knowing who God is, really who he is, without really know who he is, you can never really experience the Christianity that he promised. That's another topic some other day. But I just want to say that after Peter's confessed that, the entire conversation, Jesus started to focus, "I'll build my church. You are Peter. Upon this church, upon this rock, I'll build my church. Gates of hell will not be able to prevail against it. And I will build my church." Now, he's It's almost like Jesus feast, roll up his sleeves. He's getting ready to show what he's really coming to this world to do, to build his church, to build his kingdom. And then right after that, he started talking about eschatology. Right after that, the Son of Man shall go as planned and shall be killed by the Pharisees and the Romans, etc. All right, so he began to talk about publicly a lot about his death. You see, that is the birth. That is really the first time Jesus goes public, pronouncing he building his church after the confession of Peter. Peter's not the first pope, by the way, okay? So it's not just Peter, but a lot of people who will confess like Peter. That's what it means, really. So you see, the ecclesiology, that's a really huge part to capture in the gospel course. But I know that this is also covered definitely in what they call ecclesiology or soteriology. But this, I think that really has to come out strong. The other concept, the Trinitarian of Jesus, for example, Jesus saying, "I am in the Father, and Father is in me." Yeah, that's right. That I am in the Father, and Father is in me. In John, and all other places, that is a very powerful concept. And Jesus and God the Father are equal. I could never understand and accept that for the longest period of time. And I think I get into really 80, 90% or almost 100% now. I mean, rationally, I think I understand the amazing role of Jesus in different ranks at different times, which I would deal with some of the time. So, this is some of the subjects are really precious in the Gospels. Let me just say that to really synergize, to really combine where the evangelical and the charismatic coming from and the gospel and seminary, they got to meet. They got to be a philosophical application to the real life. It can't just be cut and dry. After a while, if we spend 80% of the time talking about dating of the gospel, what year, seriously, Synoptic Gospel and the Johannine Gospel, they basically were written between 80-40 to 80-90. Okay, 95 or 45. Really, that's about this. And apart from that, I don't really see any point to debate anymore on that. And then about the oral transmission of the gospel and the written transmission, these are precious. And after we know, but I like to see personally the application, the nuance, the power, the transformative power of the gospel as in the gospel. It's kind of odd to come to the gospel class without seeing the gospel transformation power being preached and taught that much. So, the gospel is the most powerful thing. I know it's to capture a lot, grace and all this stuff in epistles by Pauline epistles, but really, from the mouth of Jesus, so much to cover, and he's the most amazing guy. He should really, really, really be expounded on the transformative, impactful power of the word, the teaching of Christ himself in the gospel. And I just thought I'd put this on record and share with everybody on this. And after I spoke, thought through in my mind, and I put this in video. Thank you. God bless you.